Now let's take a look at how we can create a more dramatic effect in Photoshop by utilizing what I like to call dramatic perspective. So I'm going to go ahead and close this file up. I'm going to select Don't Save, and I'm going to come back to the bridge. This time we're going to choose Office Perspective.jpg. Double click that to open it up in Photoshop. And this is a fairly decent photograph. However, it really lacks that sort of dramatic quality simply because both of these people in this photograph are in exactly the same place as far as their relationship to the camera. So what we want to do is we want to take one of these people and we want to bring them forward in the photograph. So we're going to take this lady over here and we're going to move her to the foreground by utilizing a little bit of Photoshop trickery here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to grab my lasso tool first of all, and then I'm going to also duplicate this layer by using Command or Control J on my keyboard. Then I'm going to just make a rough selection of this girl here, just by drawing all the way around her outline of her. And be very careful when I get down here around her jacket. And then I'll just make a selection around the chair as well. And we'll finish it off like so. Now what we're going to do is we're going to inverse that selection really quick by using Shift-Command-I on the Mac, Shift-Control-I on the PC. And then I'm going to hit the Delete key just to delete all the area around her. And then I'll press Command or Control D on the keyboard to deselect that. So now if I turn off this background layer here, you'll see here all I have is just her by herself on her own layer. So what I want to do now, I'm going to turn that background layer back on, making sure I have that layer 1 selected. I'm just going to bring up Command or Control T to bring up Free Transform. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the size of this lady here just by holding down Shift and Option or Shift and Alt on the PC and dragging this corner handle outward like so. This is just going to bring her more and more to the foreground like you see there. So I'm going to go ahead and keep increasing this like so. Now, one of the things I need to note here, this works best for high resolution files simply because with higher resolution files you have the ability to scale without degrading the image, as opposed to lower resolution files where scaling is going to cause severe artifacts and also some very serious pixelation. So be sure when you're doing this that you only do this with higher resolution files. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get rid of all of this area around her. We're going to do that by utilizing layer masking. So I'm going to go ahead and add a layer mask to her. And now what we're going to do, we're going to flip our foreground and background colors by hitting the X key on our keyboard just to make sure that black is our foreground color. We're also going to switch to the brush tool by hitting the B key on our keyboard. I'm going to increase the size of my brush just a little bit too. I'm going to work with a 200 pixel brush for this particular image. And what we're going to do now is we're going to, with black selected, we're going to just brush out portions of this image here. Now you want to make sure that you're working with a full opacity brush to do this, so go ahead and hit the 0 key on your keyboard to increase the opacity of this brush to 100%. And now what we're going to do, we're just going to brush out along here to blend this photo in with the background. So we're going to brush back in that area of the door, and we're going to bring back in just the edge of that chair there. And notice if I mess up on an area here, I can just zoom in by hitting Command or Control plus on my keyboard, and I can switch my foreground color to white, and then I can just brush back in those areas that I might have messed up on there. So you need to be kind of careful around these edges, especially edges that aren't a constant color. And I'll just shrink the size of my brush for this and then brush out some of those areas of color right along in there. And we'll clean up that edge like so. And so now once you've blended that portion of the area into the background, we're going to go ahead and come over here to blend the rest of it in. Switch my foreground color back to black, and we'll just continue painting all along the top edge here to blend her glasses back. Blend in the shoulder, different areas like that, just to make sure that she is completely blended into this background. And just for purposes of demonstration, I am not actually being as careful as you would need to be around these edges. Of course, you would pay a lot more attention to these, but I'll show you a quick and easy way for addressing these edge issues in just a moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue just to blend this image back in like so. And then once we have that done, we can now start to kind of clean these things up. So what we'll do now is I'm going to zoom back out just a little bit here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch my foreground color to white really quick. And I'm going to lower the opacity of my brush to about 50%. And that way, if I overlap these edges, I won't be bringing back so much of the color from that background, but I will be bringing back a lot more of the area around inside of her jacket here. So I'm going to bring back some of the edges of the coat and different things like that. Now you see there are some areas that are still overlapping a little bit as far as color goes into the background there. But what we're going to do is we're going to flip our color back to black, and we're just going to paint those out all along the edge like so. And then when we're finished, I'll show you a quick before and after here of exactly how much this helped the photograph, because here is the before where it's just kind of bland, and then here's after we've made that little bit more of a dramatic perspective here, which just creates a little bit more of a dramatic effect, almost makes it seem like she's a little bit more important than the guy behind her. So this is a great way to also change the feel and look of the image as well.